matters of knowledge with regards to fiqh and others, it needs definitely to be studied. If a person wants to really learn, is to study the matter, to get the book, to write, to study, things like this. And that's what really the benefit is. But otherwise, mashallah, everything is good, inshallah. The person can benefit still, but he tends to forget. As we said before in the chapter of al-mu'amalat, or transactions, buying and selling and others, everything is permissible unless proven otherwise. And there are certain principles from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that governs all these different transactions. And people can invent whatever they like in matters of transactions, contracts and so on, as long as it does not oppose these principles and it does not fall under what is forbidden, which is very limited, but it's very like a foundation for things. Like we talked about the conditions for buying and selling to be valid, it has to be with the consensus from both parties. Nobody is to be coerced to sell something. This selling is not valid then. Or anything that has gharar or jahala, anything of deception, anything that the person doesn't know about what he's purchasing, that's not permissible and it's not valid. And also anything that has to do with riba. And the chapter of riba is one of the difficult chapters, and that's why a person dealing with in business, not just buying and selling the normal everyday thing, but someone that deals with business or get into any form of contracts, any contract, then it is not an excuse to say, I do not have the knowledge. It's a difficult chapter anyway, right? So to say, I do not have the knowledge is not an excuse. We have to ask. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. As the people of knowledge, if you do not know. So that we don't discover after it's too late that there's a condition in the contract that is haram, that is riba, that is this or that. No excuse. So it's a very dangerous thing, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warned us in the Quran, there's no sin after the disbelief of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, but when it comes to the punishment of the sins, the most severe punishment mentioned in the Quran is a word declared from Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam against those who would deal with riba. فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأَذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. That if you don't repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, يَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَذَرُوا مَا بَقِيَ مِنَ الرِّبَا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأَذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. If you don't repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from riba, then wait for a war from Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As we said before, the war from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not what us as human beings would think. It's not going to be necessarily lightning from the skies that wipes away the people. The worst thing is for people to be deviated from the truth. The people not, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُمْ. Those people that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them forget about themselves, forget what is benefiting to them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make the person more and more away from the orders of Allah, as the worst punishment that can happen to a person. He is deprived from being obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it has, of course, many forms. So it's very important that we get to learn these things or to ask the people of knowledge. After the chapter of conditions, it's the next one maybe might not relate to many of us, but we'll just go by the book, inshallah, one chapter after another. The next one might be related to many of us, which is Bab al-Khiyar. What's khiyar in English?
Options.
Choice. Or the choice for you to break a contract or to return something that you purchased. You purchased something from the store. Do you have the right to return it back or not? Right? And many different types of khiyar in this, which is, yes, can be related to many of the things that we do. But this chapter, still, it's a valid, of course, knowledge and it relates to many people, which is باب بيع الأصول والثمار. The chapter of selling the things that comes from the ground and the fruits, right? Trees and things that has to do with agriculture and farming and so on. He said, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم من باع نخلا بعد أن تؤبر فثمراتها للبائع إلا أن يشترطها المبتاع. متفق عليه. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. That the Prophet ﷺ said, من باع نخلا, whoever باع, right? The word باع means buying or selling. It's one of the words that can mean two opposite things, right? It can be, it depends on the context. So whoever purchase, whoever sell, نخلا, palm trees, بعد أن تؤبر, after it's been, تؤبر literally meaning تلقح, after it's been planted, right, or start to fertilized. But in reality, this is not exactly what it means. It means after the fruits comes out, فثمراتها للبائع, then it's fruits to the seller. If a person sells his palm trees, right, but the fruits is already out, who would take the fruits then? It's for the seller, not for the purchaser. إلا أن يشترطها المبتاع, unless the one that is purchasing it will have it as a condition. I'm purchasing your trees with whatever dates on it. And this is not just the palm trees, any tree. So a person purchasing an acre of land, right, with apple trees on it, right? And it's the season where the apples, you can see them, and they're not still small, no, they are ready to be picked, right? And he wants to purchase the land, not just he's not looking for the apples, he's purchasing the whole land, right? So who would get the fruits? It's the seller, because he's the one that worked on it, right? So he deserves it. So whatever the price of the land is, such and such, and the fruits, but with the condition that it's already out, right? It's already out and it's ready to be picked. Then in that case, it's for the seller, unless they would have this in the contract that he would purchase the trees and what's on it after it becomes clean that this is fruits. It says, وَكَذَلِكَ سَائِرُ الْأَشْجَارِ إِذَا كَانَ ثَمَرُهُ بَادِيًا. The same thing for the rest of the trees, but with the condition that if the fruits is clear, right, it's there. You understand this masala, understand this situation, right? And you see the fairness. And that's why one of the things that you would witness in these rulings, you would witness the perfect system in the Deen of Islam. That this Deen is not just about some adhkar that a person would say, or some ibadah here or there. It's in every single thing in one's life. And you would find the fairness and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these rulings, in these ahadith. Jibreel alayhi salam comes to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the life of people fits what the purpose of their life is, and to avoid all kinds of evil things. And when people go away from this, then it's all forms of evilness and envy and greed and all whatever we see in today's world. And he says, وَمِثْلُهُ إِذَا ظَهَرَ الزَّرْعُ الَّذِي لَا يُحْصَدُ إِلَّا مَرَّةً وَاحِدًا. The same thing if if the agriculture or the fruits or the whatever the harvest is only to be collected one time, right? The one that is not collected one time, right? If the fruit is there, then it's for the seller. But if it's only to be collected one time and it stays for a long time, and it's not there yet with the condition, it's not there yet, then it's for the purchaser, right? If the fruit is not out. If it's out, then it's for the seller. فإن كان يحصد مرارا فالأصول المشتري والجزة الظاهرة عند البيع البائع. فإن كان يحصد مرارا, if this type of fruit or vegetables or whatever there is, it's from the type where you can get the fruits more than one time in the same season, right? Like many of the fruits. Then فالأصول, the trees itself is for the purchaser, and والجزة الظاهرة, and what the harvest of what is already there in the trees, that's for the seller if they will sell the trees. Understand?
But the raw, if it's raw?
If it's raw, no. If it's raw then it's for the purchaser. ونهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيع الثمار حتى يبدو صلاحها. نهى البائع والمبتاع. The Prophet ﷺ forbade selling the fruits till it becomes ripe and ready to be picked. Before that, it's not permissible to sell the fruits. I mean, if a person wants to purchase the land, that's fine. But to sell the fruits, the person that sells in the wholesale of the apples, for example, he goes and he purchases all the fruits on the trees. That's not permissible unless it's ready to be picked. Why? What is that related to the principles that we mentioned before? This is deception or ignorance. What if something happens to it? Then they will have a dispute and they go to court afterwards. He purchased it when it's still green, right? And then after 2 weeks, something happens and he doesn't want to purchase it anymore, and he paid the money. So it's kind of, if you mind, after finishing something, but don't forget the question, because I know there's going to be many things. So this is another thing that the Prophet ﷺ forbade people purchasing or selling the fruits before it's ripe. وَسُئِلَ عَنْ صَلَاحِهَا. The Prophet ﷺ was asked, when is it ready or valid, or when is it can be picked? He said, حَتَّى تَذْهَبَ عَاهَةُ وَفِي لَفْظِ حَتَّى تَحْمَرَ أَوْ تَصْفَرَ. When the fruits is not ready yet, right, something can harm it, right, worm or something, right? So it reaches a stage once it becomes, as he said, till it becomes red or yellow, that means it's ready to be purchased, it's ready to be eaten, then most probably these diseases or these worms or whatever, it won't affect it anymore, affected it earlier. So that's why, to avoid the dispute, to avoid the enmity that will come between people if he purchased it early, and then something happens to it, who's gonna carry the sales? We see also that this buying and selling is not just about making profits only. There is something to do with kindness and mercy, as we would see after a few minutes, inshallah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, حَتَّى تَحْمَرَ أَوْ تَصْفَرَ, till it becomes red or yellow. That means it's ripe. وَنَهَى عَنْ بَيْعِ الْحَبِّ حَتَّى يَشْتَدَّ. رواه أهل السنة. And the Prophet ﷺ forbade selling al-hab, or the grains, till it's strong, right? In its, what's this symbolic? The grain is in what? They have a name for it. The bags of it or something?
Wheat.
Not just wheat. Husk. Right. Now, unless the husk is strong, right? Because it's inside, right? You cannot, if you open it, it's done. So unless it's strong, that means it's ready to be picked. This is when you can sell it if you're own. Then the last point here, which is a very interesting one, he said عليه الصلاة والسلام, لو بعت من أخيك ثمرا فأصابته جائحة فلا يحل لك أن تأخذ منه شيئا بما تأخذ مال أخيك بغير حق. رواه مسلم. Right? You won't find this in many of the laws, but this is in the Deen of Islam. It says, if you لو بعت من أخيك ثمرا فأصابته جائحة. If you purchased from your brother, or if you sold to your brother, you're an owner of trees and it has fruits, right? You sold the fruits to him, right, while it's still in the trees. فأصابته جائحة. Storm came, destroyed everything, right? فلا يحل لك أن تأخذ منه شيئا. It is not permissible for you to take anything from him. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, بما تأخذ مال أخيك بغير حق. How can you take the wealth or the money of your brother without the right to do that? جائحة meaning, it is not his fault, it's not something that he did wrong, something from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you have to be kind enough that you don't, make it difficult for him. He doesn't have anything to give you, right? Yes, the money will be returned and everything, but not to make him, for example, go purchase the like of it for him, right? And he endure more loss. Already there is a loss on him, so it's enough for him that he will give you the money back, right? That, for example, that he gave him, and that's it. Do not take the wealth of your brother without the right to do that, because the ja'iha is whatever comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that destroys everything. This is enough calamity for him, right? So this is with regards to the selling of the trees and the fruits and so on, very briefly. There's other contracts that would come later, but we can leave it at that. The next chapter is Babul Khiyar. But do you have any questions in what is being said? No.
Does that apply, like if you buy a house pre-construction?
No, this is different. But to buy something before it's constructed, that comes under the same thing with the fruits and so on, but under the aqd of the salam. And the salam is a special thing that the Prophet ﷺ approved or made it permissible when you buy the fruits of the next year to come. It's not even out yet, right? But you make a deal with the farmer, right, that you would purchase, but what are you purchasing? Not whatever is going to come in the trees, no. You would purchase a specific weight with a specific fruit. This is how it looks like, this and that, and it's going to weigh how much, right? And you would give him the money. And the reason for that, he would take the money and use it for his land and so on. And then after the time comes and the fruits is there and he picks it himself and so on, he has to give you what you had agreed upon. It has to be the same as you agreed, this type of apples, this type of whatever, right? And it's not something else, it's not something different. And with the same weight that you had agreed upon. The same thing, which is one of the new contracts, which is called the istisna', which is you make a contract of something that is going to be manufactured, or something that is going to be built. Like you're purchasing a house, or before it's been built, or apartment in a building that they didn't build it yet, right? So can you purchase something in the air like this? Yes, but with conditions. The conditions should take away all means of deception or ignorance. So it will be very clear that you have, for example, this apartment on whatever floor, the one on the right or the one on the left, right? The number such and such, how many rooms, the drawing is there, right? How many square foot, whatever there is, very specific details. Not that, okay, everybody here, we're going to collect some money and we're going to build a big building, right? And whatever happens, each one of you, inshallah, will have a flat in there, or an apartment in there. Which one, which floor, how much, how big, how small, these things has to be discussed from the very beginning and agreed upon, so that no jahala, no ignorance that would cause dispute later. And as a principle in any contract that people get together, sometimes when brothers, this is one of the reasons shaitan comes in between them, and once money becomes part, they become enemies to one another. Before you start any contract, even with your brother and your mother and father, right? Things of course has to be halal, and sometimes people, those who are close to that, they say it's okay, we're brothers for the sake of Allah, things like that. No, you deal with each other. I don't want to say as enemies, of course not, like enemies, but the contract has to be with the laws of the Deen, being very clear, and you have to make sure that the way it is so easy for people to get into contracts, they should also make it so easy to get out of the contracts. Many people, they don't think when they get into a contract how to get out of it. Right? If something happens, right, you don't have money anymore, what are you going to do? Right? When people are so happy to go deal with the riba to get a house, so mashallah, this is easy, right? And they make you sign all kinds of things, haram anyway, it's not permissible, right? But then they make them pay for the rest of their life, whatever, and then they can't, the foreclosure come and they take the house and you sign right here, sorry, right? And it's all forms of injustice, right? Because a person owns the house, even if it's with riba, but he's paying whatever the house is worth, and if he has one payment left, still they would take it away from him. In which the Deen would say, okay, you have money that you owe this person, take that thing, sell it, take whatever is left from your money and give him back whatever the rest of the house is worth. And anyway, so the point is, any contract that a person gets in it, even marriage, right? To get married, sometimes the mahr is two parts. Part which is muqaddam, immediate, and the other part is if talaq happens, if divorce happens, or if death. And people, because they're so emotional, right, and they like each other so much, or the families are very nice to each other at that moment, so they would say, don't worry about, inshallah nothing's going to happen, so he would leave them a blank check. He can write whatever he wants. $1 million, if divorce happens, sure, $1 million. This is definitely someone that doesn't have much wisdom if you do this. You have to make sure, and people would think of him in an evil way if he makes conditions. What if things happen? That means he has bad intentions? No. The same way that you go easy in a contract, what if something happens? Right? how to get out also from the contract in an easy way. This is an important thing. So maybe we'll take one or two issues with al-khiyar and then we'll start.
This was about the late fees and cancellation fees and leaving an apartment you have to pay because you didn't finish the lease. What if the owner is a Muslim? I mean, is it permissible for them to take those late fees and
Late fees is not permissible. Late fees
cancellation fees and all these fees?
is not permissible.
Yeah.
Because if you owe someone some money, this is like a loan. A person's supposed to pay at the end of the month 1,000 and he was late. This is a loan. This is like a loan. He cannot pay more than 1,000.
Exactly.
But you can do things to secure that nobody will, take your money and never pay.
Yeah,
so you can say, for example, then you have to make a rahm, right? If you don't pay something, I will sell your car.
Like security deposit?
Security deposit, if it's something that
Money.
it's no problem if it's for a certain purpose and not to abuse it.
Yeah.
Not to say I'm not going to give you because whatever reason is. If
About breaking the contract, a penalty because you broke the contract.
this is not permissible.
But then breaking the contract is not good either. If you make a contract with a Muslim brother.
Right. But if
If something calamity happens or something else, but in the middle of it you say, "Khalas, I'm gone." If you say something, they say, "Oh, brother, you're Muslim."
right, he's doing, but you cannot take money from him as a result. That's the.
So you explained part of it. Back home, like they have gardens, mango garden. So they say whatever fruit comes in, we buy it for next year.
Right.
This is not
It's
like
not permissible. Just like that. And what if something happens? What if it's not exactly the time that they agreed upon? All kinds of things happen. And also the Prophet ﷺ, he forbade people purchasing things for years to come. You cannot do that. It's only if it's 1 year, but things have to be very clear.
It's the same way in the stock market if you buy options.
Yes, that is all.
It's not right.
Crazy. Yes. Many of the dealings in the stock market is not permissible because it's based on gharar, based on deception, based on selling something that you don't own, or buy something that you don't own, like short selling and all these types of things. You're not purchasing something for real.
Yeah, trading.
Huh?
Trading, because you can have like $1,000, but you can do purchasing for $100,000.
Right.
You can do it. You will do 10% or not even 1% of it, but you will be dealing with millions of dollars.
Right. See, all of this is not permissible. Islam, the basic concept where matters of economy and so on is built on tangible things that you can touch and hold, and like how gold used to be the currency in the past. They tricked people, they took their gold, right, and they gave them paper, and it's supposed to respond to what's gold, but that was in the old days. Forget about this. To start producing these papers that does not, it's not for anything that is gold or anything, and that's what makes things worse and makes some people so rich and some people so poor. It's just so evil. The concept is amazing. Anyway, we take maybe one with the khiyar, with the choice. The first one, it says وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْعَقْدُ صَارَ لَازِمًا إِلَّا بِسَبَبٍ إِلْزَامِ الشَّرْعِ. Once you make a contract, then it's binding. Right? It's binding. You can't break it if there's a contract. You have to fulfill the contract. Except if there is some religious means that would make the contract then can be broken. How is that? We'll take just one. فَمِنْهَا خِيَارُ الْمَجْلِسِ. The choice of the majlis or the setting of buying and selling, or whatever the contract is. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا تبايع رجلان فكل واحد منهما بالخيار ما لم يتفرقا وكان جميعا أو يخير أحدهما الآخر فإن خير أحدهما الآخر فتبايعا ولم يترك واحد منهما البيع فقد وجب البيع. Meaning that if two people are buying and selling or whatever contract that they're doing, each one of them has the choice to break the contract. He's not buying by the contract as long as they did not disperse, as long as they're sitting together and they were together, right? So they're sitting together. How much you want to purchase it? I'll purchase it for 1,000. Sure, I agree. Okay, I buy, I purchase, no problem. And they're writing the contract, and he signed the contract, right? Contract is signed, and they're still together. After he signed the contract, no, I don't want it. He has the right. He has the right, even if he signed the contract, because they're still in the same gathering, they didn't disperse yet, right? And this, as we said before, the wisdom behind it, you might be so excited to purchase something, but once you get really now purchased it, you feel the regret, right? So the Deen gives you the chance, while you're still sitting, you have the right, you have the choice to break the contract, while you're still there. Unless, as it will be mentioned also, they would stipulate this. Once you cut, once you sign, you're done. If they make this as a condition, that means you're done if you sign. But if no conditions has been mentioned, then as long as you're sitting together, and jami'an is mentioned meaning together. So once you disperse, that's it, it's binding. Right? So this is a khiyar, or this is a choice that doesn't have to have a condition mentioned in the contract. البيعان بالخيار ما لم يتفرق. So some people, they get so upset. They're sitting with each other. Sometimes they don't even do the transaction. They're just bargaining, right? Or they're talking about it. Yes, you like it. And sometimes people make it difficult for others. You see something that you like to purchase, right? So the person says, you like it? Yes, I like it. He takes it as if you are buying it. If you like it, that means you purchase it. Who said that? Yeah, I like it. So I want to see it. You see it, right? Okay, I like it very much. Let's sit and discuss. He think that you already you have to purchase it. No. What if once we start talking, I would discover that I don't like it, I don't want it, right? So if people know these rulings, they will be happy with each other, because sometimes people, they change their mind in the last moment, and people start being angry with each other. So see how, can you guys please lower your voice? So the Deen, subhanAllah, see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes such rulings, because this is something that people do all the time, so that they know that from the beginning, right? So that they won't be enemies to each other when they buy and sell. So if somebody changes mind at the last moment, don't get upset. This is the Deen of Islam, right? If you're even sitting and something happens, then still he has the right, even if the contract is signed, as long as they don't disperse. Once they leave each other, that's it. Also, it's binding, and it's valid. Unless they make another condition, which is one of the types to come khiyar al-muddah, which is valid. If they say, well, give me a month, I'll purchase it and everything, but I have the right to return it in a month. That's fine, this is valid. And this khiyar, or this choice, can be from the seller or from the buyer, but with conditions. And for example, what if you purchase a cow, right? And you say, I'm going to just try it for a month. And it gave birth before the month is over. Who belonged to this, the new baby cow, right? Or you purchase a truck, right? And I will try it for a month. And he drove the truck and he make money, right? And then after the end of the month, he said, I don't like it, please take it. And I have the right, because we made this as a condition. Who will get the money? Who will get the money?
The seller.
No.
If you return it?
No. The purchaser. In this case, the purchaser, but in the cow, no, the seller will get it. The ulama, they separate between النماء المنفصل والنماء المتصل. النماء المتصل meaning something that came from the original good, that is part of it, that was nama, meaning an increase, right? Like a baby cow or a baby goat, that goes to the seller if he returns it. But if it's munfasil, if the profit or the increase was something separate from whatever you purchased. I mean, if the truck makes small trucks, that's different. But if it's you make money, there's a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Kharaju bil-Daman, which means whoever takes the money is the one that would secure it, or have the, what's the Daman? Have the
Bond?
Huh? Guarantee. From what it means, if you made an accident with the truck, who's gonna incur the all the fixing and everything? Not the seller, the one that purchased it. even if he's trying it for a month. So since you have this guarantee, since it's on you, the truck, anything that happens to it, if it needs to be fixed because the wear and tear of what you're doing, it's on you. If you make an accident, it's on you. So as a condition, if you would guarantee something, anything that something makes, it's for you. Because you're the one that is in the risk. If you bear the risk, that means you take the money and the benefit. The seller is not taking any risk. So why would he get the money? And again, if it's buying and selling, it's not ijara, it's not renting or anything, it's buying and selling. But there's so much details in this, of course. But this is when it comes to the khiyar. The first one that we just talk about tonight, inshallah ta'ala, is the khiyar al-majlis. You're sitting in the majlis, in the same setting, and you change your mind. You have the right to change your mind. And you should really, if you felt you regret it after you signed the contract, don't be shy. Don't say, well, I feel bad. Don't feel bad. This is your right in the Deen. And you say, I don't want it anymore. Take the thing, very quick. You're not doing anything haram because maybe the other guy doesn't understand that. And if he got upset, it's his own problem, right? Of course, you should make your istikhara and think and make right decisions. But what if it happens? You should not live with something that you don't like just because of this. And people should understand that so that they don't have enmity towards one another. Unless, again, they stipulate that once you sign, it's binding. You cannot return that, then it's a different thing.
One, this one.
So is it clear? Then okay, go ahead.